Hello, my name is Maria Clark, and welcome to the Tax Orientation for International Students and Scholars at Washington State University for tax year 2023. All right, today we're going to go through some quick introductions and then talk about a general overview of federal taxes, and then review the services and support that is available for Washington State University students through the NoRTH and WSUHoopsTax International Tax Clinic. And then we'll do a demonstration of the process and the software. So again, my name is Maria Clark. I'm the Executive Director of the Non-Resident Tax Help Group, or NoRTH. We're a 501c3 charitable organization that provides tax services and education for those who are or were non-resident aliens. And the primary means that we do that is through operating VITA sites, or free tax assistance sites, at schools around the United States. Last year, we helped almost 2,000 people get over $1.25 million of federal income tax refunds. We operated 29 clinics, 7 office hours sessions for over 600 hours of volunteer support at more than 100 schools in 23 states and 14 countries. And our goal for this year is to help even more people file their taxes for free. So let's talk about federal taxes. One of the first things that you should know is that taxes are done on a calendar year basis. So when you do your taxes, you're going to combine all of your income and all of your expenses from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Your taxes are not based on an academic year, and they're not based on a specific job or income document. So as you think about the calendar year, before the start of the year, you would work with Washington State University or whoever your employer might be to organize some paperwork before you start working. During the year, you will work, Washington State will pay you, and they will also send money to the IRS on your behalf for federal taxes. After the year ends, Washington State will send some documentation to both you and to the IRS, and then you can work with us at NoRTH here to file your tax returns. And those are due on April 15th. After that time frame, you should hopefully just wait for your refunds to come if you're getting one, or make your payments already if you haven't done that. And the IRS is going to be in charge of processing your return. And they might have some questions about it, and they might send you a letter. And if that happens, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you understand what that letter says and recommend some next steps for you and provide some options for additional free support if you qualify. So, the U.S. tax system, an income tax system. So that means money that's coming into you. And some types of income are not taxed, such as gifts from your family, but many are. And as you earn more money, you will pay more tax. The rate starts at 10% and goes up to about 37%. And there are lots of special rules, exemptions, and adjustments. And those rules depend on your personal situation. So everyone is unique. Nobody has the exact same situation. The taxes that you pay when you purchase an item are called sales tax. Those are charged automatically, and generally there is no refund for these taxes. The only way to get a refund is to actually return the item that you bought. All right, so one of the primary ideas or concepts behind the U.S. tax system is that it is every person's individual responsibility to calculate and pay their own taxes. Taxes are a pay-as-you-kind-of-go system, so as you receive income during the year, you should be paying something like the right amount of tax. It doesn't have to be exact, but something close. The organization that gives you the money may withhold some of that money or send it directly to the tax authorities on your behalf. This is always an estimate of the amount that you will owe. It's never the exact calculation, because determining the exact calculation requires personal information that those organizations don't have. At the end of the year, you're required to complete a federal and a state, if that applies to you, tax return to compute your actual tax liability. And because taxes are based on how much income you earn, right, we don't know what that number is going to be until the end of the year, until you know your total income. It's then your responsibility to file your taxes, which you can do either electronically or paper mail. And that's how you tell the tax authorities what you've calculated. And again, those are due on April 15th this year. You may need to do this, you probably will need to do this, even if you don't owe any taxes and even if you don't get any refunds. And then each taxpayer is ultimately responsible for the information on their returns. To file a tax return, you need a tax ID number, and the tax ID number that you get will depend on your situation. If you're authorized to work, you're going to be eligible for a Social Security number. If you are not authorized to work, but you still receive U.S. income, such as a taxable scholarship or fellowship, you will need to get an ITIN, an Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. If you need to get an ITIN, we can help you with that process. Please feel free to reach out to us at that email right here. The IRS will issue numbers to individuals who need to file a tax return. So needing a credit card is not going to be enough reason to get an ITIN, but if you have a taxable scholarship and have to file a return, then that will definitely qualify. So I said that taxes were very individual. So here are a few of the things, not all, but a few of the things that can affect your tax calculation. The first one is U.S. tax residency. Treaty benefits are based on tax residency, as are many of the other rules. Your marital status, whether you are single or married, does also affect your taxes. Your income is, of course, a big one, right? How much income you have, as well as the types of income, because those can be treated differently. It depends if you have wages or scholarship, investment income, or business income. It also matters where the money comes from, if it comes from here in the U.S. or if it comes from outside of the U.S. It also can affect your taxes based on how you spend your money. So do you support anyone, any children or parents or people that you live with? Are you repaying loans for some purchases, such as student loans or buying a house? If you pay taxes to other governmental units, that can also affect your taxes owed, as can educational expenses in some circumstances. Those can affect your taxes also. So let's talk more about federal tax residency status. If you are a U.S. citizen, you are automatically a U.S. tax resident. From the IRS perspective, anyone who is not a citizen, either by birth or naturalization, is considered an alien. There are two situations for aliens. You can either be, well, three. You can be a non-resident alien or a resident alien or a dual status alien, which means you're both. A non-resident alien is someone who has not been granted permanent resident status, so you don't have a green card, and they have not passed the substantial presence test. And this is a test that looks at the number of days you're in the U.S. over the prior 3 years and does some math around those. Some individuals are exempt from this residency test. And those are generally students on an FJMQ visa for the first 5 calendar years they're in the U.S., as well as J1 non-students based on a 2 out of 6 rule. And the really important thing to know here is that this is exempt from the residency test. You're not exempt from paying taxes. You can be a resident alien if you have a green card or if you have passed that substantial presence test. You can also be a resident alien if you are a non-resident but you choose to file a joint return with your spouse for the entire year and be treated as a resident. The other thing to know is that resident alien for tax purposes is not the same thing as a resident for immigration purposes. There is also a complicated status called a dual status alien, where you are a resident for part of the year and a non-resident for part of the year as well. It's complicated. Again, those are out of scope for the VITA program. And to figure out which one of these 3 options you are, the easiest way is actually to use our tool called Am I a Non-Resident Alien? Very cleverly named. And this QR code here in the corner takes you straight to that. Basically, you'll enter your U.S. visa and travel history. Make sure you enter your lifetime visits because, especially for FJMQ visits, those do matter no matter when they were in your life. The tool will do some residency or calculations. They'll do the math to count the number of days, count whether you're exempt or not, and provide you results. Congratulations, you're a resident. Congratulations, you're a non-resident. It'll also give you some days, some counts that you're going to use for preparing your tax return as well. And it'll let you know if you're an exempt individual. If you are an exempt individual, so again, exempt from the residency test, you must file the Form 8843. And this basically just tells the IRS, hello, I'm here, I'm on an F4J visa, this is the school that I'm at. You don't need a Social Security or an ITIN if you only need to file this form. If you do have one of those numbers, you can electronically file it. Everyone else has to file it on paper. And we also have a tool I'll show you later that will help fill out that form for you. So just answer a few more questions and we can pre-populate it for you to make life easy. If you do have U.S. income, then you are going to file a Form 1040-NR. Again, it must be filed by April 15th, and it can be e-filed in most situations. If you do have to paper file it, it goes to a special address that's right here, and then that's also in the instructions as well. All right, so when we calculate tax for non-resident aliens, here are kind of some high-level rules of thumb. And it does get more complicated as you get into the details, but generally you can say that for a non-resident alien, only your U.S. taxable income is going to be included in a tax return. If you're a resident, then you get to pay tax on your worldwide income, but as a non-resident, it's only if that income is here in the U.S. However, you must file if you have any amount of taxable income. Married non-resident aliens must file separately. They cannot file a joint return with their spouse, but married does mean married, so you can't say single even if your spouse is still back in your home country. Wages are going to generally be taxed. However, you may get a treaty exemption for a certain amount. Often teachers and researchers have an unlimited amount, and then there's a small set amount for students. This may or may not be reported on a 1042-S form. It can also be reported on a W-2 form. And the form that your income is reported on does not determine your treaty benefit. So even if you don't get a treaty benefit 1042-S, you can still claim a tax treaty for wages if you're eligible. Scholarships will be tax-free for everyone, residents and non-residents, if they are for tuition required books and fees. If they are for something else, such as room and board, generally they're going to be taxable, but non-resident aliens can sometimes claim a treaty exemption and not have to pay tax on them. If you are self-employed, if you operate your own business, that's going to usually be reported on a 1099 NEC or miscellaneous. That is out of scope for us to assist with. Our software will do it, but we can't provide guidance other than to point you to some online resources from the IRS and other free VITA sites. Generally, investment income is going to be taxed, and it will be taxed at 30%, so it's pretty high. There can be a few treaties that get a lower rate, but those are pretty complicated, and it's reported in a special form, Schedule NEC, on the 1040-NR. It's not reported on the standard Schedule D like a resident would report it. If you have bank interest as a non-resident alien, it is not taxable and it is not reportable, so you get a good deal there. If you have dabbled in cryptocurrency or digital asset sales or exchanges, those are also capital gains, and the IRS has determined that that is out of scope for all VITA clinics. So again, we can point you to some online resources from the IRS, but we can't help you with that part of your tax return. I mentioned that the money you spend, so your expenses, can reduce your taxes. If you are a student from India, and only a student, so not a teacher, a researcher, or scholar, you can use the standard deduction, which is a set amount to subtract from your income. Everyone else will use itemized deductions. And generally, the main one there is taxes paid to a state or local government. If you itemized last year and you got a refund, that refund will probably be taxable in your next year's return. We've got instructions about how to figure that out as well. Charitable contributions are also an itemized deduction for non-resident aliens. Unfortunately, there are generally no credits for non-resident aliens. There are a few, but they are quite rare, and there are absolutely no education credits. So if you are a non-resident alien, you will not qualify for the American Opportunity Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit. If you are a non-resident alien, you also don't have to pay Social Security and Medicare taxes if you're on an F1 or a J1 visa. Once you become a resident alien, you will need to pay those. And if you are a non-resident alien on a -2 visa, like a J2 visa, then you will also need to pay those even if you're a non-resident alien. If you weren't supposed to pay them, but your employer took those out, we can help you get a refund on them. This is completely separate from your income tax return, so you should go ahead and file your income tax return. And then if you want to send us an email, we can get together with you and talk through the process. We help people with these over the summer. It usually takes several months if the employer will refund them directly, and it can take longer if we have to request the money straight from the IRS. All right, so that's a brief introduction to federal taxes. The other good news is that as a Washington State University student, Washington State does not have an income tax, so you don't need to worry about that. If you did have an internship and worked in another state, you may need to still file a state income tax, but if you only received income in Washington State, then you don't need to worry about it. All right, so let's talk about the NoRTH and Washington State University WSUHoopsTax International Tax Clinic. All right, so I'm going to put a lot of letters at you here. So we are an IRS VITA FSA clinic. So IRS is the Internal Revenue Service. That's the organization in the federal government that's responsible for the Income Tax Administration. VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. So the people that help at the clinics are all volunteers. They are not getting paid to do that. And then finally, FSA, which stands for Facilitated Self-Assistance. That's just a very fancy way of saying DIY plus help. So you're the DIY, you're going to do most of the work, but we are here to help you. We're going to be with you every step of the way, but you're going to be doing the majority of the work, and we will help make sure it's done correctly. We provide free tax preparation and support for individuals who are in scope. Our first criteria for scope is that you have a school, nonprofit, or government email. So Washington State University email is perfect. We help everyone. So non-resident aliens, resident aliens, citizens, nationals, permanent residents, everyone, right? As long as you've got that email, you are good to go. We do have an income limitation. The software has a hard limit of $79,000. And if you're above that limit, the software won't work. It will take your information, but it won't prepare an actual tax return form and give it to you. There are some types of income and situations that are out of scope. Cryptocurrency is a great example. In that kind of a situation, the software will still work, but unfortunately, we can't help you with it. So we can point you to some resources again, but we can't tell you, yep, you've exactly entered that cryptocurrency transaction correctly. All right, we provide 24/7 access to the TaxSlayer software. It is available through end of October. So if you are late, you can still go ahead and file your return. And it will file both federal and state returns for free, and generally it will e-file all of them as well. We also have a bunch of tools that can help you in this process. Our first tool is Am I a Non-Resident Alien? That's again what helps you determine your federal tax residency. We also have a treaty benefits tool where you can enter your visa and your country, and you can see what tax benefits you have. You can also look at your income documents to see if they match your treaty benefits. We combine these tools into a personalized guide tool, which will use those same questions and then give you a PDF that is a step-by-step process for using the TaxSlayer software to prepare your return. We also have an option there where if you only need to file a Form 8843, so you don't have a Social Security or an ITIN and you don't have any U.S. income, that we can help you pre-fill that form out and give that to you so you can just print it, sign it, and mail it in. We also provide individual support with IRS trained and certified volunteers. We have remote office hours that are available on our calendar. They are mostly full at this point in the tax season, but you can check back and see if something becomes available. There is also a walk-in clinic for Washington State University students. It's at the Neal Public Library on Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then finally, you can email us. That's a really good way to get assistance. We can answer all kinds of tax questions. We can resolve e-file issues. If it's a really basic question like, am I a non-resident alien? We'll probably send you back to our tools. But otherwise, if it's anything more complicated, we'll be very happy to help you with that. All right, we also have some generic guides that basically walk through how to use the software. These are much more of a choose your own adventure. So it includes all of the options. The personalized guide, by answering a few questions, that lets you kind of like only get the parts of the guides that you really need. So it's much less confusing to use that way. So how does it work? The first step is going to be to request a membership. You can use this QR code or go out to our website there. Remember, make sure you use your WSU email account. If you use like a generic Gmail or iCloud account, we will cancel it. So please use the Gmail account or use your WSU account. Membership is automatically approved, but we will, like I said, come back and change it or adjust it if it's not using a proper email. Then you're going to need to get ready. So gather your income documents, make sure your return is in scope, and then do your taxes. Create a personalized guide, and then use that guide to prepare your return and file your return. You can also use the general guides, but a lot of those additional steps, those are all wrapped into that personalized guide, which is why we think it's the best. And then finally, if you need help, send us an email, make an appointment, walk into the tax clinic. We'll be happy to help you. All right, so now I'm going to do a demonstration of this whole process, and we're going to do it with a pretend client. She's not a real person, but we're going to pretend that Lisa, we're Lisa today, and we are going to do our tax return. All right, so here's some information about Lisa. She is an F1 student from China. She is single, born on January 1st, 2001. She came here on August 8th, 2021. That was a lucky day for her. And then she went home, not in 2023, but the summer before. She worked on campus and she filed tax returns. So she's kind of good at this stuff. She's done it a couple of times. She filed back in March of 2023. She had a W-2. She paid $750 in tax. She filed her return. She got a refund of $205 after she claimed her tax treaty. She's studying accounting at Washington State University. And here's the information for the International Student Services group that she's going to put on her return. And her passport is the very cleverly named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so she needs to prepare her return. What are the steps? She is going to start by getting ready, right? She needs to get her income documents. And she has them, right? She received a 1042-S with income code 20. That means benefit for studying, wages earned while studying or training, and it was for $5,000. Then she also received a W-2 for $8,400. You can see that she had $840 of federal tax withheld. That's in box number 2. And then the bottom, boxes 15, 16, 17, those are all blank. And that's because she's in Washington, and Washington doesn't have a state income tax, so there's not going to be anything there. Well done, Lisa. All right, her next step is that she's going to confirm her return is in scope. So let's look at our scope criteria. All right, income over $79,000. Nope, she's totally good. Some state income tax support. She doesn't need that, right? She's in Washington. She doesn't have to worry about states. Does she have a treaty benefit for something other than wages, scholarships, dividends, or capital gains? Nope, she's only got wages. She doesn't have any self-employment income, no income earned outside of the United States. She doesn't need to amend her return, right? If you file and you make a mistake, then you have to amend or formally tell the IRS, oops, sorry, I messed this up. Here's the right information. But she's not doing that, right? This is her first time. She's going to get it right. She's also not filing for an earlier year, 2022 or earlier. Our software will only do 2023 returns, which is good because that's what she's got. And she doesn't have any cryptocurrency. So she is all in scope. She can move forward with doing her return. All right, so her step next would be to create a personalized guide. And so I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to go here. We're going to go out to the website. All right, so here is the NR Tax Help website, the main website. Click on Free Tax Assistance. And as a Washington State University student, you're going to go down here, click on the button WSUHoopsTax Institute. And here is how you can register for your free membership. You can opt out of our newsletter if you want. We don't send very many, usually like 2, 3, 4 a year. And they're basically reminders. Hey, it's 2 weeks until you have to file your tax return. Or hey, we're open for the year. Appointments are almost out. Book things soon. All that kind of stuff. I already have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. And here I am. So when you need to log in, you can go to this Your Account. It'll say login. You can log in and access the information. So on this website is information about the support we provide. We've got our email here. Step 1 Learn has this same information. Here's our tool about residency. Here's the link to get your travel history, your I-94. And then we'll also have, this is a different version, but we'll put this new version of the tax orientation out there as soon as it's done. Step 2 is get ready, right? That was gathering your income documents, making sure you're in scope. We've got more information about the different possible income documents you might receive. And one thing to really know about income documents is that you are never going to prepare those, right? The people that gave you the money, your employer if you worked for them, the school if they gave you a scholarship, they're the ones that are going to give you that income document. You're never going to have to prepare it. They're going to send it to you, and then you are going to use it to prepare your tax return. Here's our scope statements as well. And we're going to go on to step number 3. We are ready to do our taxes. All right, as a non-resident, I know Lisa's a non-resident, but either way, we're going to create and use a personalized guide. If you know that you're a resident, you can go straight into TaxSlayer. They have a built-in guide for residents that works pretty well, but they don't have one for non-residents. And so that's why we created the personalized guide. So we're going to click here and we're going to create a personalized guide for Lisa. All right, let's start the interview. Is Lisa a citizen? No, she is not. She is a citizen of China though. So we will select China. All right, what country were you a tax resident of before you came to the United States? So this will generally be where you lived and worked before you came to the US. It's usually your country of citizenship, but that's not a requirement. And you usually have to live in a country for at least 6 months to establish residency there. If you have any questions about this, you can always email us here at taxhelp@nrtaxhelp.org or do the WSUHoopsTax.taxhelp as well. But for us, Lisa, she's always lived in China. That's the only place she's been before she came to the US, so that makes it pretty easy. All right, now we're going to determine Lisa's federal tax residency status. So she came here as an F1 student. She came here on August 8th, 2021, and then she left. She went home over the summer in 2022, so we're going to put that. And then she came back in August 31st, 2022. All right, and she hasn't left. She's been here ever since. So we're going to just leave that final exit date blank and check status. And this says, congratulations, you're a non-resident alien. If you don't think that's right, again, you can email us, but generally this is very accurate. But again, all of your visits, that's one of the most important things to put to make sure that it is accurate. All right, were you married? Lisa is not married. If you were, there's some special things that might apply, right? If she's married to a US citizen, she could possibly file a joint return. But for us, Lisa, she's single. Makes life easy. Does she have a Social Security? All right, so I'm going to divert for a second. Lisa does, but what if she didn't, right? What if she didn't have a Social Security? What if she didn't have any US income? The only thing she would need to do then is file this form 8843. So we can go here. You can just do this, which will give you the instructions to fill it out yourself, or you can enter some additional information and we'll help fill it out for you. So let's say Lisa, I can't spell or type. There we go. Lisa here. So she said that she was a resident of China, so we need to know her address in China. And then we also need to know her mailing address here in the United States. Zip code, let's pretend. There we go. All right, again, we pre-filled this based on what she told us, but let's say, oh no, actually, Lisa has a passport from Spain. That's pretty awesome. Let's put that in there. And we'll enter your passport number, whatever that might be. Did you take affirmative steps to apply for a green card? So entering the green card lottery is a no. Winning the green card lottery is a yes if you do that. So congratulations if you did. All right, she does not have her school information here, so she's going to enter it herself. School contact name is Nativia Jones, school name Washington State. I cannot type, apologies. Let's just do address, city, state, and then phone number 509-335-4508. All right, and that's all we need. Click the button, download, and here is Lisa's 8843. It's already filled out for her. We've got her name, we've got her address, we have her visa information, right? It updated where we said we changed it from China to Spain. It did all of the math to count the days, so we don't have to worry about that. Page 2 is here, it's all blank. This is where she would sign and date it, and here are the filing instructions. Print it, sign and date, mail it to this address right here, and make sure you save a copy of that PDF form for your records. And that's all it would take if you were only needing to file a Form 8843. But Lisa has a bit more of a complicated situation, right? So we're going to go back. Do you have a Social Security? Yes, we do. And these are the most common types of income documents. If you have something else, you can click that other not listed. But she has a W-2 and she has a 1042S and it was code 20. So we're going to select those right there. All right. Because Lisa said that she was a student from China, we know, the tool knows that there are some treaty benefits that she would be eligible for. So we want to see how her income documents compare to her treaty benefits. So we are going to enter her income documents and we're going to enter the amount. And it's very important that you enter the amounts because it does some math on them to give you the proper entries on your tax return. And so if you don't enter the right amounts, then it will give you the wrong entries. All right, so her 1042S was a code 20 for $5,000. Okay. Did she give money to a charity, a U.S. charity? Nope. Did she pay a student loan back? No. Did she file a tax return? Yes. Did she get a state income tax refund? No, right? She was from Washington. No state income taxes. So no refund, no additional state tax paid. All right, we're going to select Washington is where she was. That's where she received her money. And we continue. And we're done. We have our guide. It's going to think for 10 seconds or so. And then here we are. All right. So here is our guide. All right, so let's go back. So the best way to do this, I'm going to just take a quick look here at our things. All right, so we have our guide. We're going to prepare our tax return. Now, the most important part of all of this, right, is when you go to create your access, your account in TaxSlayer, you must use the link here on this website. And the reason why is that if you just Google TaxSlayer and you create an account there, it will give you the software, but it will not give you the software for free. So the only way to get the free version is to click on our little link here. We do that, we go in and it's going to look like this. And now the best way to use the guide is if you have two screens or if you can just split your screens is to have them side by side. All right, so we are there on TaxSlayer on the left. The guide is on the right. Let's jump ahead. Some disclosures. A reminder, right, TaxSlayer, unfortunately, right, is not like foolproof. It is not super smart. So you can make it give you a refund of $1 million or say that, but that doesn't mean it's right. All right, we are preparing our return. A reminder on scope. Remember, here was our important link that we had to click on. And here we are. All right, we are caught up. So in all of our guide pieces, you're going to see like blue arrows, blue circles, right? Those are going to point to where you need to put information, where you need to click. So we're going to continue. All right, we're going to, if we were doing this for the first time, we would create an account. I already have an account, so I'm going to just log in. Yes, they usually do like the reCAPTCHA thing. Goodness gracious, it's like all of them. All right, yay, and it liked me. All right, so in the guide, it's got the instructions for actually creating an account. And a couple of important things. Number one, you don't have to use your school email. You can use whatever email and username that you want for this. Number two, it does require a US phone number. And they do want to try to verify it with a text message. If you don't have a US phone number, you can put any US number there. So you can put like the International Student Services number. But then very important, you don't want to click the verify my account with a text message because they won't get a text message for you. You can just unclick that and then you can verify with an email address instead. All right, and here we go. All right, I'm gonna get started. Okay, return is created, let's get started. Okay, we are going to say remind me later because we do not need offer letters from TaxSlayer. Okay, we are going to say no thanks. All right, might get that screen, we didn't. All right, so we are going to put Lisa's name in here. If you have a long name, there are only a certain number of characters that you can put in here. Just put as many of the letters as you can, and then when you run out, you'll just stop there. So don't abbreviate partway through, just put as much of your name as you can. Lisa has a short name, so that makes it really easy. And we're going to do a pretend social security number for Lisa because this is not a real return. We're not going to actually file for her. You're going to put her actual real information. And we're going to put the student visa type because she's a student. If you were a teacher or researcher, you can put that as well. And then we will continue. All right. You want to make sure that that information is correct, especially your date of birth. It's got to be month, day, year. That is a common reject issue. All right, we are going to enter an address, but she is not going to be living in Wisconsin this time. She is going to be living in Washington, 99164. Ta-da, there it goes. All right, and we are going to select full year resident. So if we need to change that later, we definitely can. Since Washington doesn't have a state tax, it's going to be easy. We don't have to do anything, but very important, select full year for now, and then we can continue. All right, we would look through this list to see if anything applies. Lisa is over 18 and a full-time student, and that's all. If she wanted to get communications in something other than English, she could select that here. There are quite a few options. We're going to just leave everything in English for now, and we're going to continue. All right, very important step here. We need to not select resident. Although Lisa is single, she is not going to be selecting single up here. She's going to select non-resident alien. If you do select single, or you accidentally click something wrong, you might not have the non-resident alien option. Here's our instructions about how to fix that if it applies to you. But once you do select non-resident alien, then you're going to select single. And if in our guide questions, if you had said married, right, the guide would say, choose married. All right, we are going to say no. Almost everybody is a no here. There's only a few very rare people that get to say yes. Again, that personalized guide would tell you if you were eligible. If you had your identity stolen and you told the IRS about it, they would send you a 6-digit identity protection PIN. Lisa did not have that happen. Almost nobody does, but if you did, that would be where you would enter it. We're going to say no here. Confirm all of that information is correct. It looks great. Here we go. Let's do it. All right, so we are now at the point where we're going to say this, and we're going to say, I don't know which forms I need. You can say continue, and you can add forms that way, but it does throw up some like warning messages at the end. So I think it's easier and less confusing if you just say, I don't know which forms, because the personalized guide knows the forms. It's going to walk you through that. All right, and we are now at the point where we are in the software. If you ever need to stop, you can just click this save and log out button at any point now. We can see it. Save and log out. You can come back in. Everything that you've done will be saved. The next thing you want to check is here in the upper left-hand corner. It should say 2023 American Pledge. That means that you have the free version. If it says simply free, it is not going to be simply free. It is going to want to charge you. If that happens to you, send us an email. We can walk you through fixing that. Let's get it fixed now before you enter anything in. You can't just convert it to a free account. You've got to do some steps to restart. So don't enter anything more. Give us an email and we'll help you get it fixed. All right. If you logged out and logged back in, this is what it looks like to verify your account. Again, you can do an email or a phone number. Enter the code, and off you go, you're back. All right, so we are going to start with basic information. All right, we're going to click on the 1040 NR Schedule OI. We're going to click on General Information. Okay, so we need to start selecting things. All right, we're going to select Individual. Select country for citizenship, right? So Lisa is from China, so we're going to select China. If I can get my mouse to work, there we go. She is a citizen of China, and her country of tax residence is also China. Very important, so her country of tax residence is not going to be the US. If you are a US tax resident, then you are not going to be filing a Form 1040-NR. We're going to select Other Not Listed. She has a non-immigrant visa, which is an F1 visa. If she ever had a green card or been a citizen, she would enter that information here. Likewise, if she'd ever changed, she would enter that here. We're not going to worry about that. All right, and we're going to move on to the next page. All right, so our guide did the math for us to figure out what is our count of days. So we don't have to do any counting, which is fantastic. We just enter that there. Did you file a tax return last year? Yes, she did. Lisa did a great job. She filed the 1040-NR with us. No trust, no compensation over $250,000, nothing crazy like that. If she wanted to get a tax return check mailed to an address outside of the United States, she could enter that information here. Otherwise, we're going to leave it blank. And that's basically, it's almost always blank for everybody else. Those two things don't apply. We're going to definitely leave that one blank right there and continue. All right, and we're back. And now we're going to enter dates entered and departed. All right, so for this one, we need to enter the first date that Lisa was here in the United States during 2023. And that date was January 1st, right? Because she was here the entire year. So the first day she was here, January 1st, she didn't really enter with an I-94, but that was her first day she was present. And she never left, right? So if we were doing this for 2022, we would have put, those dates in May and in August. But we only enter 2023 dates. And her situation was very simple for 2023. If she had multiple entry and exit dates, this would be where we could add them. So we do entry and then exit, come back here, add another entry and exit. But Lisa is simple. We're going to continue. All right, and then we continue. And we're back here at the main page. We're going to click on Federal now. We're going to go to Miscellaneous Forms. All right, we're going to do this one here at the top. Aliens exempt for medical reasons or other conditions. All right, some of this information should be filled out, but not all of it. So, date entered in the US. That's going to be the most recent entry in the tax year or earlier. All right, so for Lisa, she is going to enter August 31st, 2022, because that was the last time she came to the United States. She can't enter a date in 2024. So if somebody went home over Christmas and came back in January of 2024, you can't enter 2024. You've got to do the entry that was before that one. She's never changed. Her current visa status is F1. All right. She has a passport from China. Passport number was that very imaginative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, and then again, we're going to enter days. We've got one extra information piece to enter, so 365, 267, 146. Days that you claim you can exclude is 365. There we go. All right. And now we're going to go, so as a student, we're going to enter some information in part 3. If she was a J1 non-student, we would give her instructions and point to that section. But she is a student. All right, so Washington State University. Phone number was 509. There we go. Address is 501 Bryan Hall and Pullman 99164. There we go. All right. And then for your contact, so this form is basically used by the IRS to say they want to verify that you're a student. So who could they call? Who could they write a letter to verify that you really were a student at Washington State University for this particular year? And so putting the information for the International Student Services Organization because they will know, right, who is a student here who had an F visa or a J visa. And so that's a really good way to make sure. Whereas if you put your professor or something like that, if they move on to a, whoa, pardon that, goodness gracious. If they move on to a new job, then they might not be there, right? That phone number might not work anymore. All right, we're going to do that same 501 Ryan Hall 99164. All right. There we are. All right, so were you present for more than 5 calendar years? So Lisa came in 1, and then 2022, and then 2023. So this is her 3rd year. So she's a no. She didn't apply for a green card. She didn't hold a visa during 17, 18, 19, 20, but she did in 2021, right? She had her visa. She had an F visa, but she didn't change her visa type. It was just F. She also had a visa in 2022, right? The same F1 visa. Oh, there we are. We're missing a phone number. 45. That was definitely a messed up form number. All right. 354508. There we go. Let's try that again. Okay, it's happy now. And we're going to continue. And we're going to continue again. And we're back. Okay, so next step, we are going to enter wage information. So let's go to federal, W-2. All right, so again, we're going to enter the information on the form, just like it sounds, or just like it's written. It's if we have something that's too long, we're going to just enter as much of it as we can. And if the address is different, right? If her information, like she's moved, has changed, that's totally fine. We're going to just enter what we can and like it looks on the W-2. So for Washington State, 91600 1108. Washington State University, address again, P.O. Box 64125, zip code 99164. All right, there we go. We're going to again put your address there, and then we're going to go down to here. Okay, so we're going to just copy the information from her form. So whatever is on her form, and her form is actually like super simple because she has 8,400 here in box number 1. She has 840 in box number 2. Whoops, 840. There we are. And then that's it. Those other boxes, box 3, 4, 5, 6, those are blank. 12, 13, 14 are blank. 15, all of that stuff is blank. So Lisa is just nice and easy, super simple. If you had information, you would enter that here. You know, if she'd been working out somewhere in another state, say Alabama, right, she would put that information there. But she doesn't have anything like that. It's all blank. And so we say continue. All right. There's a couple of examples if you have some errors, but that doesn't apply for us. She doesn't have a blank box number 1, so we're going to skip that. If she had another W-2, she could go right here to enter it. She's going to enter each of them separately. She's not going to like add them together. If you have to fix anything, you can click on here on edit, or you can delete it. But she's all good, so we're going to just continue. We're back at the main page. All right, next, federal payments and estimates. Okay, we're going to scroll down. Foreign persons, U.S. income subject to withholding. So the form 1042-S. Remember, she got one of those forms. All right. So in this, we're going to follow those same general rules, right? We're going to enter the information on the form. The boxes that are highlighted in red are the ones that are required. So we're going to enter box number 3, which was chapter 3. Unique form identifier, very unique again. And then Chapter 3 status code was 04, exempt under a treaty. It was not an amended form or anything like that. Her income code was 20. And her gross income was $5,000. All right. And the other boxes were all blank, except for if we scroll down, you can see box number 16 or 13F. Recipient information. She is an individual. Code number 16. And there we go. Continue. All right. And this is what it looks like. Again, if she had more than one, we would go through the process of entering them, but she just has that one. And there we go. Continue. All right. Now, here is Lisa's treaty benefits analysis, right? She's a student from China. She has Treaty Article 20C, which gives her a $5,000 treaty benefit. She had a 1042S for $5,000 and a W-2 for $8,400. So her total income was $13,400. Her income document, her 1042S, matched her treaty benefit. So she doesn't have any special entries that she needs to do. She's going to just have some regular entries. If things didn't match, for example, if she only got a W-2, she could still claim her treaty benefit. We just have some extra entries to make sure that she got that. All right, but we're going to do her treaty benefits for wages. So we're going to go back, basic information, 1040 NR. We're going to do now income exempt from tax. All right, and we're going to enter her information. So if we go back, okay, so she was from China. Treaty article is 20C. All right. Number of months claimed. All right. So if you filed last year, you're going to use last year's number plus 12. If you didn't file last year, you're going to leave blank. All right. So you probably don't remember, but in the introduction for Lisa, I said that last year she filed and she claimed her tax treaty. So we're going to assume that last year was a blank. And so this year she's going to claim 12 months that she filed for last year. So it'll be 24 at the end of this year. And then her amount of her exempt income is from her 1042S income amount, $5,000. Continue. All right. And there is her information. We continue, 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 and we're back to the main page. All right. Congratulations, you lived in Washington. You don't have to do a state tax return. And so she would be ready to file, if you can believe it. That was preparing her tax return. All right, and this will walk you through that. Remember, one of the most important things is once you file your return, you can't just change it and send a new copy. You have to formally change it, which is called amending your return, which sends an extra form that tells the IRS this is what the change was. So you want to make sure that it's correct before you file it. Generally, you can e-file it. It is a lot faster to e-file. It typically takes 2 to 4 months to get a regular return back on paper. Sometimes it can take even longer if you have a 1042S. If you filed a tax return last year, you're going to need your 2022 return. Ignore the 2021 up here. You're going to need the information from one of the lines, line number 11. If you can't get a copy, there's a few options for how to get a copy as well. If you are getting a refund, you can have that direct deposited. That's going to make your money show up faster and it won't get lost if you move. If you owe, you can also pay by a check or a direct withdrawal from a checking or savings account or a credit card or debit card, but they do charge extra fees for the card usage. All right, so we're going to go to state. And it's going to think about everything. All right, we are going to skip state return because we don't need a Washington state return. All right, if there were a state, there might be some errors. This would be the point where it does the corrections and checks to make sure everything can be fixed. But we have no errors. We're all good. Uh-oh, Lisa owes money. She owes $3. Well, oh well, that's too bad. But maybe next year she'll get a little bit of a refund. and $3 isn't too much. All right, let me go back. Very important. Let's go back to summary print. All right, so two things. Number one, it's not going to let me go further because I didn't give them a good social security number, right? You have to have a real social security number, be able to file your tax return. At this point, we would also want to print all of her returns so that we have a PDF copy of them, just to make sure that is all there. All right, and then I'm going to take away this because we're not going to actually be able to do it. I'm going to give you, we'll walk through a few of these slides just to show you what it looks like. The slides have all of the information about how to file. It'll walk you through, again, we do not want offers from taxpayers, so say no. Yes, I'm ready to file. And it'll walk you through if you're getting a refund. You can choose how you want to get that refund. Same with the state. Off you go. The fees should always be 0. If you see fees, click continue and then go back and it will reset it. So almost always it doesn't show them there, but if it does, back and forward to reset. If it still shows fees, then please email us because you do not have to pay to get your tax return done. That's sometimes a sign that you're on the wrong version. For your refund, you can invest it in savings bonds if you want. Otherwise, you can just get the money back for yourself and do direct deposit. You can split it between multiple accounts if you want to do that. Otherwise, just put it on one account, select the information. It does have to be a US bank account. And make sure that the routing and account numbers are correct. You can get the money back if you put it into the wrong account, but it takes a long time and it's painful. So double check those numbers to make sure that they're right. Again, if you wanted to do multiple accounts, you could add another bank account. State won't matter for you. If you owe, this is the process that it would walk through. Again, direct debit, or you can mail a payment. Direct debit is easier. If you do it from a US bank account, then it's free, and you can choose the date that you want the money to be taken out. State won't apply for Washington, but the same options would be there. And then you can continue. All right, you're almost ready. You're $0 on fees. You're ready to go. Again, add a bank account if you haven't already got it. Where are you going to pay? You get to choose the date. Payment due date is 4/15, so April 15th. If you won't have the money, then you can pay a different amount to pay what you can, and then pay the rest of it later. If you don't pay everything by the due date, then the IRS will charge you some interest. But if you owe a large amount, then that may be the best thing to do. It may be better to pay the IRS a little bit of interest, right? 5 or 6% rather than paying like 20% on a credit card. All right, again, payments for states, which probably wouldn't apply for you. And then filing steps, right? Very last one. They have an option to enter an ID. You can put an ID if you want, but it's not required. So you can just do the shortcut and say, I don't want to provide it. Completely optional. We would need some information about your tax return. So if you didn't file, you can select that, or you don't have your return. For Lisa, we would say we did have her return. If you did file, you need either that number from your tax return, or when you file, you'll select a 5-digit PIN number as like a code, and you could enter that code this next year if you can't find your actual tax return forms. All right. If you say yes, you filed, and you don't have your return, this is the PIN that you did. Guessing will cause them to reject, right? It's got to be right. If you can't find your PIN, don't know what it was, can't find your return, that's where you go back through those steps earlier to get a copy of your tax return. If you did file, select whichever version it was, enter that number from your AGI. This is a very common reason why we get rejects, so make sure that number is correct. If you didn't file at all, or even if you did, you're going to pick a PIN for this year, right? So this is, again, a code that you can enter so that when you file next year, you can just enter this code. You can do a zip code, you can do a birthday, you can do whatever is going to be something that you can remember. And then sign and file your return. If something is wrong, if you're not quite sure, click edit. That'll get you back out of the e-filing systems. Otherwise, this is the very last one, and you are filed, you are done. Yay! Lisa has filed her tax return. All right. And so if we come back to here, right, we did our taxes, we prepared her return, we hopefully filed her return, and she is good to go. All right. If Lisa needed some extra help, that optional step for help is here. She can find information about email, office hours, or walk-in times and locations. And with that, we are done with our orientation for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you at a tax clinic.